What's up, guys? Welcome back. Before I get started, just real quickly, sorry if I sound like crap. I've been sick the last couple days, but I did still want to get this episode out. Anyways, by the turn of the millennium, Cedar Point found themselves in the middle of what many enthusiasts call the Coaster Wars. Basically, Cedar Fair and Six Flags, along with some international parks, were all closely competing to build the world record smashing rides and to steal world records from each other. Also, after the failure of disaster transport, Cedar Point would quit trying to become the Disneyland of the Midwest. In order to dominate the early 2000s, Cedar Point needed something big. Really big.
At the turn of the millennium, there were signs. Was there something out there? A higher intelligence? A mysterious force at work? Beyond words? Beyond comprehension? Beyond. What will the new millennium bring? M theory, a shadowy construct fathomed by scientists at their wits' end over the quest for the answer to everything. Beyond time, beyond space, beyond gravity, beyond dimensions we understand. A natural force simply known as Millennium Force.
Millennium Force opened in 2000 as the world's first Giga Coaster. The ride was designed by Intamin and featured an astonishing max height of 310 feet, as well as a 300-foot drop, as well as a top speed of 93 miles per hour. Instead of using a standard chain lift or launch, Millennium uses a custom cable lift mechanism. The ride runs 3 trains, blue, red, and yellow, with 9 cars per train. Each train seats a total of 36 riders. Upon opening in 2000, Millennium Force won Cedar Point a whopping 11 world records. The first ever complete circuit coaster to top 300 feet, the tallest complete circuit roller coaster, longest drop on a complete circuit roller coaster, fastest complete circuit roller coaster, steepest non-inversion banked turn on a roller coaster, first roller coaster to feature a magnetic braking system, most rides at an amusement park, most roller coasters at an amusement park, most complete circuit roller coasters over 200 feet high at an amusement park, most steel roller coasters at an amusement park, and most feet of roller coaster track at an amusement park. Millennium Force is personally my favorite ride at Cedar Point. And actually, this season, Cedar Point dropped $600,000 on installing a new, faster cable lift to the ride's famous lift hill. Despite being a shorter ride due to its speed, Millennium's track takes up a lot of space on the peninsula. In fact, an entire central island called Millennium Island is just comprised of the Giga Coaster's midsection track. Moving on from Millennium, in 2001, we would see the opening of a campground on the Cedar Point Peninsula called Lighthouse Point. Lighthouse Point contains 50 cottages, 10 cabins, and 59 RV camping sites. Cedar Point's next roller coaster would be the now defunct Wicked Twister, an intimate inverted launch shuttle roller coaster that opened in 2002. While not the most extreme ride, Wicked Twister would still be a fan favorite for many, and actually held the world record for tallest and fastest inverted coaster before it was topped by legendary Twin Dragon in China in 2021. The same year, Wicked Twister would close permanently. In 2003, though Millennium Force had only been open for 3 years at this point, Cedar Point decided that they needed to shatter records once again, so they opened the infamous Top Thrill Dragster, now known as Top Thrill 2. Dragster is a steel-launched roller coaster that was designed by Intamin and opened as the world's first strata roller coaster, at a whopping max height of 420 feet, as well as a top speed of 120 miles an hour. In order to achieve those speeds in mere seconds, Dragster employed a hydraulic launch mechanism, using the same system that military aircraft carriers use to launch fighter jets. In order to construct the ride, Cedar Point needed to rent a 480-foot crane, one of only four in the United States. Two flat rides, Chaos and Troika, were moved to other areas of the park to make way for Dragster. The original Top Thrill Dragster opened on May 4th, 2003, although technical delays would force the ride to re-close until that July. Dragster reclaimed the records of both tallest and fastest roller coaster in the world, although it would eventually be surpassed in both categories. Dragster has three trains with 5 cars each. In total, each train can seat 18 riders. The original ride would launch riders up the hill, where they would then fall back down, hit the final brake run, and return to the station. However, depending on environmental conditions, Dragster sometimes experienced a phenomenon known as a rollback, where the car would fail to clear the top hat and roll backwards down the hill and back towards the station. Rollbacks were not malfunctions, and the ride was designed with them in mind. The original Dragster did have two noticeable incidents, however. In 2004, at around 8:20 p.m., a group of four was riding Dragster when they were suddenly struck by flying debris. All four riders had injury on their arms, and one of them had cuts on their face. According to the investigation, a metal cable located under the track frayed and pieces of it flew up and hit the riders. Two of the riders went to the park's first aid station, while two others went to the hospital on their own accord. Then, the more famous incident, in 2021, Rachel Hawes was standing in line for the ride when an L-shaped bracket became dislodged from the bottom of a ride vehicle and struck her in the head. She was immediately rendered unconscious, and the park's first responders transported her to a nearby hospital. While we have not heard many developments about her condition due to her family refusing interviews, it is known that she sustained brain damage that may affect her for the rest of her life. In the aftermath of the second incident, the state of Ohio did clear Dragster to reopen, but Cedar Point instead took the opportunity and kept the ride closed for a major refurbishment. Cedar Point contracted Zamperla in 2021, a relatively new manufacturer, and they completely replaced the track, repainted the ride, and added a brand new vertical spike element, as well as a backwards launch. Top Thrill 2 would open in June 2024 for a little under a week. However, like its predecessor, technical issues caused it to reclose until the beginning of the 2025 season. However, some good news, due to the closing of Kingda Ka at the end of the 2024 season at Six Flags Great Adventure, Top Thrill 2 has been able to retake its former world records as tallest and fastest roller coaster in the world. So there's that. But let's go back to the mid 2000s. 2005 and 2006 saw the introduction of some major flat rides, Max Air and Skyhawk, respectively. Cedar Point's last major ride for the decade would come in 2007. This time, Cedar Point decided to try something different. This time, they wouldn't aim to smash any records. Instead, they would just aim for making an outstanding roller coaster. So Cedar Point's third Big Four coaster, the ride to end the coaster wars, was Maverick. Maverick was manufactured by Intamin and was the first LSM launch coaster that they would manufacture. Maverick contains a 95-degree initial drop, the steepest in Ohio, as well as the world's first twisted horseshoe roll. Maverick also contains a second launch that speeds the vehicle up to 70 miles an hour. Maverick was originally meant to open on May 12, 2007. However, 4 days before then, Cedar Point would announce that the opening would be delayed 1 month so that certain portions of the track could be replaced, due to them underestimating the amount of force that would be exerted on them. If you haven't noticed, initial technical issues are a major trend with new Cedar Point rides. Maverick did eventually open on May 26, however, and to rave reviews. Maverick runs 3 trains with 3 cars each. Each train carries a total of 12 riders. Maverick has been updated a couple times over the years, starting in 2016 when the hard shoulder restraints were replaced with vest shoulder restraints. Then, in 2018, the tunnel that contains the ride's second launch would be refurbished. Luckily, no major incident of note has occurred on Maverick. In the end, Maverick taught the industry a good lesson. Not every ride needs to be record-breaking to be enjoyable. The rest of the 2000s saw some minor additions to the park, such as Planet Snoopy. One thing of note was Shoot the Rapids, a water ride. Maybe not notable on its own, but it was the last ride Cedar Point and Cedar Fair as a whole would work with Intamin on due to a string of unreliable rides that culminated with Shoot the Rapids, which did have a non-fatal incident in the mid-2010s involving a boat partially flipping over. The last thing we will cover today is the Windseeker, which opened at Cedar Point in 2011. Windseeker is a Star Flyer swing ride manufactured by the Dutch corporation Mondial. It is 300 feet high and can seat 50 riders per cycle. Well, guys, that's where I'm going to call it for today. I'm going to make one more part to this and then wrap up this saga of introspective so that I can make a special one for Halloween. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Liam's Random Introspectives.